once again, a very warm welcome to all of our attendees. We also would like to invite you, or IOPSA would like to invite you to attend the Plumbing Industry Awards that is taking place on the 28th of July, 2022, and that will be held at the Royal Elephant Hotel and Conference Center. It will start at 6 o'clock. And if you want some more information, please contact marketing@iopsa.org. We have had a few saying that their emails are bouncing back. When we take a look at the email, we do realize at the end you're doing co.za. Please remember, IOPSA is an organization, non-profit organization. So it is marketing@iopsa.org. And if you do get stuck, please let us know and we'll try and get them to send you an email first, and then you can reply to that. Now, we also want to remind you about the tips to continually prevent COVID-19. Washing your hands using sanitizer when available, avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands, adhere to your social distancing and avoiding close contact with people who are sick, covering your cough or sneeze, as well as cleaning and disinfecting frequently touched objects and surfaces. And if you are able to, please do your part and get vaccinated. Now, just on this, we have had a few questions from last week. Is it legally allowed for our clients to request that we be vaccinated before we are allowed on their property? So the reason why this question came up is a few bigger corporate clients were requiring their plumbers to produce vaccination cards before they were allowed on site. Yes, it is legally allowed that your client can request this. If you have a personal decision, a medical reason, you can discuss this with them and try and come to some sort of agreement. We have had it where a client said that is fine because it is a personal reason. It also was a little bit of a medical reason for the plumber not to be vaccinated. He did give forth the proof of this. And based on that, they just required him to wear a mask at all times while he was doing the work on site, aside from his other PPE that was necessary. And so they came to the arrangement. There was no fighting. It was just a good discussion. Myself and the plumbing company went through to go and speak to the client. We had a good chat with them, the safety officer, and we came to an agreement. We had to change the risk assessment because the risk assessment from the client side did mention that they wanted everybody to be vaccinated. But this was pretty simple, saying to be vaccinated was preferable. That would bring the risk lower. But if it was not possible, then the wearing of the masks and social distancing would then assist in this case. And so the client was very reasonable. That being said, the same situation happened on a separate site where the client refused completely to have any person that was not vaccinated on site. And so that is their right. It is a legal right of theirs as well. So please, just to answer that question, yes, they are allowed to ask that, but you can speak to them. Having a good conversation with your client, you've got a good relationship, may help you to overcome that. So we hope that answers your question that you did send through. And for those of you who asked that question via email, we actually have emailed you those answers as well. So this morning we are looking at Arrive Alive, and our safety thought for this week is be safe every day and all hours of the day, looking at road safety 24/7. Now that is really what Arrive Alive stands for. If you go to the Arrive Alive website, they have the tips for road safety. And we're going to go through these tips today. So as we mentioned, we're not specifically looking at one aspect of driving. We're looking at all aspects of driving. And obviously, as plumbers, you are driving every single day. And so we're asking you, please take a look at 24/7 road safety rules. This means not only when you are using a company bakkie or company vehicle to get to and from work. We are actually asking you to plan any journey, to obey the rules of the road at all times. So let's go through each one of these, as well as the suggestions and tips from the Arrive Alive website. And again, if you want some more information on this, please drop us an email and we'll get back to you with this. So planning the journey and ensuring that you obey the road rules. You need to obey the rules of the road and carry your driver's license with you. Now, some of us have two vehicles, and oftentimes what happens to me is I've got a specific area in my vehicle where I keep my wallet with my driver's license. But nowadays, I don't really walk around with wallets anymore, actually, because everything is paid by either my cell phone or my watch. And so I don't even carry credit cards or cash on me anymore. So when I get into my vehicle or I move from one vehicle to the next, I often forget my driver's license. And so what I did was I went and asked for a second driver's license. And this was not possible. They said that I wasn't allowed to have two driver's licenses. And so what I did was I made copies of them and I had them signed, and obviously, took them to the police to have them certified. And I've kept a few copies of each in different vehicles, and this has helped me. And so having your actual driver's license is key. They do want to see your actual driver's license, but it has gotten me out of a sticky situation where I forgot my wallet in the other vehicle. Explaining this to the police officer has helped me, but having proof that I have a license, which is also signed by a police officer, did help me as well. So please remember, this might be a good suggestion if you are jumping in different vehicles. Then plan the route to your holiday's destination and give yourself enough time to reach that destination. Now, this tip can be used for any destination, whether you're driving to a client, whether you're driving back home, or whether you are going on that extra holiday destination. Plan your route. Now, what does that mean? Well, you need to know how far you're driving, where you're going to be stopping, perhaps where you're going to be filling up with fuel, as it mentions a little bit later on. You want to kind of plan these stages or these stops. And the reason for that is having a plan in place. When something changes, you will be able to adapt to that change because there's a plan in place. Now, if you are not going to plan the route, perhaps the areas where you do want to stop have closed. Perhaps those petrol stations are not selling the fuel that you want. And so what we normally do on very large trips, once a year, we drive all around the country at about 6,000 kilometers to go and see all of our clients in and around Joburg, KZN, Cape Town, all the way through to Bloemfontein, Limpopo. And often what we do is we phone ahead of time, we look for accommodation, and we ask the accommodation if they have any changes in their area. Any restaurants closed down, any petrol stations closed down. And generally it's just a bit of a WhatsApp because we're speaking to the owners of the Airbnbs now, and they just let us know what's actually happening in that area. And that gives us a bit of an overview, if I can put it that way. It's not that we are 100% going to stick to that plan, but at least we have the information to work with. Then if it's possible, keep an extra cell phone as a GPS navigation tool or have an actual GPS as well. Oftentimes we get to the middle of nowhere, driving along the Karoo, maybe going to go and see a client out in the sticks, and we do not have signal on our phones. And so what we've done is we've just kept an extra road map in the vehicle as well, just a paper-based one, these that we got from CNA basically. And we just always have that basically in the toolbox, if I can put it that way, in the back of the vehicle. That is a just in case, because technology really, after driving a few more kilometers, we pick up internet now and then. And because GPS works directly with satellites, it often doesn't take much longer for the satellite, information to come back to us so that we know where our plan is or where we are going from. But it is good to not rely on a GPS all the time. And so we have become very reliant on this type of technology, meaning that sometimes we don't even know how to get to our favorite destinations without using a GPS. So we don't want you to get lost, but maybe you can try it out. Using a GPS navigation tool is brilliant, and ensuring that you have these things in advance is also vital. But try and understand, maybe study the map to see where you are actually going so that you are not totally reliant on a GPS. Then for peace of mind, stick to major routes or toll routes. Now, we do understand that that sometimes is expensive, but if our toll route roads are not in good condition, can you imagine what the condition is of roads that are not tolled? So if you are going to travel on the back roads, identify the towns along the route and what distances are in between them. We have had areas from KZN to East London where it's actually better to take the back route, even though they don't have tolls, purely because it is a newer road and it is so much nicer to drive on. I'm sure they'll start tolling it eventually. But if you don't know the route, speak to the locals. Ask the persons that stay in the area. And if you don't have accurate information, just stick to the major routes. the price of the toll sometimes far outweighs the cost of breaking down or getting punctures or damage due to potholes or rocks or things lying in that area because it's not well used. A lot of trucks use them, and a lot of times these trucks are sabotaged on the road, and so people are lying in wait for vehicles to come through. Then do not get stranded without fuel. So always plan ahead where you will refuel. And that's one of those things about planning your route. Take a look at the distance, know how much fuel your vehicle can take, and plan for a contingency. Try to not really drive below a quarter tank wherever you are going. And the reason is, if you do get stranded, you never ever want to be without fuel. So you can at least get to a place within 100 kilometers of your surrounding. Now, you also want to plan where you are going to stop. If you're traveling with kids, it's a great way to let them know when and where you will be stopping. I know for my wife, she needs to stop often for toilet breaks. And what we do is we plan our stops at certain major areas and certain beautiful areas along the way that we know are safe to stop. And then always ensure that a friend or family member who is not traveling with you is aware of the route that you are planning to travel. Ideally, you should also update them on your progress of the journey and let them know when you have reached your destination safely. Now, this is a very good idea for a few reasons. For one, checking in with somebody is not that they're checking in on you, but at least they know that you are safe. For many of you, you have family members that you do this with. But if you're going on a business trip, it is a good idea to let maybe your manager know, your supervisor. If you are a manager or supervisor, and you might think, well, you don't need to let anybody know. Well, why not let people know? Let other employees know that might be able to assist you should you break down. So give them the route, give them the plan, let them know where you will be going. And try to avoid driving after dark if possible. Now, many people that we've spoken to about Arrive Alive or driving in the past have said that they prefer driving at night because the roads are not so busy. And yes, it all depends on how you drive, what are your preferences, but that's why it says if possible. The reason is it is not as easy to see at night as it is during the day, especially when the sun is out and we can see for kilometers ahead of us where we are going or any dangers or risks or hazards that are around us. So yes, you do have that problem of busier roads during the day, and at night you have the pro of not driving in super busy roads. But the cons of driving at night, again, outweigh the benefits of the day riding. So please just be careful when driving at night. Then expect others not to be as obedient to the law as yourself. This will also help you to remain calm. So if you are going to obey the law, but don't get upset when others do not. It's an easy tendency for us to get stuck into. It's an easy tendency for us to point out. But what we need to do is just focus on our own path. And that is why leave a little bit earlier. Make sure that you have your route planned, have enough water in the vehicle, and then also ensure that mentally you are prepared for the route as well. And make sure your vehicle is in a roadworthy condition before your departure. And this is looking for vehicle fitness. We want to make sure that the vehicle that we are driving will be able to take us to our destination and back safely. Check all your lights and indicators. Check your windscreen wipers. Check the brakes, steering, exhaust system, tires should be carefully examined for faults. During these times of the Easter, Christmas seasons, all your festive seasons, as well as various holidays that come out throughout the year, many companies will say you can get a 20-point check by us if you buy tires, or some just give away free checks as well before the holidays in order to promote their brand. Take advantage of this. Look up on Google who's giving away these types of checks. Make use of them and take advantage of them, because having somebody check it out, it's not always there just to find a fault. And sometimes this does happen to us. Your car was driving perfectly fine until you take it to a mechanic, and then all of a sudden it's on its last legs. Yes, you do get mechanics like that, but try and find a reputable place that can do this 20-point check. Perhaps some of the DECRA branches out there can assist you with ensuring that your vehicle is at least fit to be able to go on a longer trip. Now, in saying that, we also ensuring that we don't just maintain our vehicle before a trip, maintain it at the regular intervals. In other words, whatever is required by the manufacturer, do what is required, and then ensure that your vehicle is in good condition. I don't know if many of you rotate your tires on a vehicle. We're often told about that. Sometimes we don't see the need for it, but why not go in and have a look at how the tires are being maintained on your vehicle? Brand new tires can wear out a lot quicker if the vehicle is not set up correctly, or because of the road conditions that we are driving on all the time. You see, this can change the condition of the vehicle even after a few months. And so it would be a good idea to have these things checked regularly. Then take your vehicle for a full check before embarking on your holiday travels, or any travels for that matter, especially if they are longer. Never overload your vehicle. Now, many of us do go to site and there's people in the car, there's tools, there's equipment. Just be careful. Now, overloading your vehicle will not have as desired consequence as you wanted. You might think to yourself, well, we've done it in the past and we were safe. But in an emergency situation, your brakes are less likely to work. The vehicle itself will be a lot more unstable, and the person in the vehicle might not be able to control it as normal. So overloading your vehicle really is a very dangerous thing. Then, aside from your vehicle being safe or fit for the journey, is the driver, the operator of that vehicle, fit and safe? So have a good rest before you embark on a journey. So we're not saying, those few kilometers in and around the Johannesburg metropolitan, Cape Town CBD, or Durban city centers. Those areas that you are driving through might be short, might be filled with traffic, as you see there, and that might also hinder you in certain ways or create emotional situations, mental problems. We might get frustrated, we might get angry, or have that tendency to have road rage. But we also just want to ensure that we take the longer distance and the shorter distance routes into consideration. If you can, take safety breaks every 2 hours or within a 200-kilometer period. Many people say, well, I just drive straight through to Cape Town, in one shot. And well, that's brilliant. If you are able to do that, we prefer not to do that. The reason being is anything can happen, and putting the safety in the hands of just the driver is not ideal. So everybody should have a part to play when it comes to driving long distances. The short distances, is it still valid that you take breaks every 2 hours or so? Well, because you're not driving for 2 hours all the time, perhaps in traffic, it should only take you half an hour to get to your destination, and now it takes you 2 hours, and so you're sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic. What do you think you should do there? Well, just make sure that the driver fitness is there. Remember, road rage is really not a solution. Do not drink and drive. If you are going to consume alcohol, please remember to make alternative arrangements. Maybe get an Uber or get a designated driver to assist you. Remain alert at all times and avoid driver distractions, such as speaking on your cell phone, maybe sending text messages. Obviously, this is very, very dangerous. You can get fined because it is an illegal action to talk on your cell phone or to text message on your cell phone. Rather use a Bluetooth handset. Now, for many, we say to ourselves, well, I do have Bluetooth, but I cannot stop looking at my phone. Well, why not put it in the boot? Put your phone away from you, connect it to the Bluetooth, so at least you can get emergency calls if needed, but you are not able then to pick up your phone and actually look at it. Rather just put it away from you, put it in the cubbyhole and lock it with a key that you've got starting the vehicle, so that it's not possible for you to take the key out and open the cubbyhole. There are means and ways of getting around the tendency to pick up our cell phone and be distracted. Be responsible with seatbelt wearing. Always wear your seatbelt and see that everyone in the car is wearing theirs. And we're speaking to those of you who have the seatbelt clicked in all the time just to stop the beeping noises of the vehicles. And yet when you climb into the car, you climb over it and the seatbelt is pretty much behind you, between yourself and the seat. This is not a good idea. We're only practicing something that is unsafe. You've been lucky up till now, until something actually happens. And remember, whatever you do is what your employees will follow. If you are the manager or the supervisor, they will follow your lead. They might be safe to a degree, but in other situations, they're going to mimic you and see that you don't really obey all the rules. And so when it comes down to it, the behavior that you are setting is that they don't need to follow it either. Even more importantly, are our children that will follow what we do. So South African law requires each passenger being transported in a motor vehicle to make use of the seatbelt and strap themselves in. Remember, it is the driver's responsibility. As the operator of that vehicle, you are responsible to ensure passengers are strapped in and remain strapped in while traveling. It is a criminal offense to allow to allow a child younger than 14 to travel unrestrained in a vehicle. So if your child is under the age of 14, you have to ensure that they are strapped in. As you see there, infants and children under the age of 12 should be in the back seat of the vehicle. They should either be buckled up in a car seat, a booster seat, or perhaps the car's vehicle seatbelt, depending on their age and weight. So just have a look at what is more necessary. Infants, 0 months to obviously 1 year of age, and up to about 10 kgs in weight, should travel in the rear facing seat in the back of the vehicle. So this car seat must always face the back of the vehicle and preferably should be in the back of the vehicle. Because the impact then will be on the seat and not the infant. Now, defensive driving, it's obvious on the roads that we are driving on, we probably need to be defensive. So risk takers are collision makers. Drive defensively, drive for yourself and for others. Be visible, drive with your lights on if you can. Headlights should be dipped well before an approaching vehicle. Perhaps you can say to yourself, well, that's never the case. People drive with their brights on all the time. It's super frustrating. I understand your frustration. Sometimes I've even forgotten to do that, where I'm coming over a hill and haven't seen the oncoming car in time, and you get blasted by brights from them, and it's super annoying. But at the same time, we just need to not be distracted. So when you're driving, focus on your actual driving. Stay within the speed limit at all times. Now, if it says 60, stay 60. If it says 80, stay 80. Even if you know that there are no cameras in that area. And I'm speaking to those of you who have the tendency, when I've even driven with you, to say, oh, but there's no cameras here. That is not a reason to speed. So please stay within the speed limit at all times. Be especially alert when approaching traffic lights, intersections, and level crossings. We know this. Just because the light is green doesn't mean we can rush right through it. Just always be cautious at any traffic light intersections or any crossings. Only overtake when it is absolutely safe to do so. Maintain at least a 2-second following distance. This distance should be increased at night in foggy or rainy conditions or when the road is wet. Avoid driving on blind spots of other vehicles if this is possible. Be courteous toward fellow road users. Keep your temper and resist the temptation to retaliate. Please, this is super important for your own mental state. Just try and be positive at all times. You can be as kind as possible. Hopefully it will rub off. If it doesn't matter. You've still at least saved yourself. Then be cautious when driving alone and avoid stopping in remote areas for your own personal safety. Now, if you can, we want to ensure that you remain alert to any areas that might present a threat of criminal activity, such as hijacking and smashing and grab. These things often come out on radio stations. They tell us about certain areas. You can also Google these areas sometimes. And then always place your valuables in the boot of your car and never leave items such as cell phones, wallets in open sight, unattended, or on the seat of your car. This just allows or invites criminals to target your vehicle. So constantly be on the lookout. We're not asking you to be super paranoid. We're just asking you to be prepared. So recognizing the safety of all road users. Yes, cyclists, they are also road users. Sometimes they can be in the way and sometimes they are a pain because they don't obey the road rules, but some of us do obey the road rules. So please look out for us when we are on the road. I've actually stopped riding with certain mountain bike groups because they don't obey the road rules, because they feel that they have the right of way, and this is not the case. So if you are a cyclist, please just obey the road rules, and remember that cars are bigger than you. We don't want you to have to die to become a statistic in order for action to be taken. Your families don't need that. So try to recognize potentially dangerous drivers or pedestrians along the route and keep clear of them. Don't try and get as close as possible. Don't take out your cell phone to start recording them. Just keep clear of them. Try to keep children away from the roads. The roads are obviously not a place to play. When walking near traffic, avoid distractions. Be visible. Motorists must be aware of pedestrians and animals on open roads, specifically near more rural areas. Bikers should drive with lights on and wear protective clothing. These are motorbikers. And then bikers should never hang out in a truck's blind spot or no zone. And this is obviously always printed on the vehicle. If you cannot see the lights or the side mirrors of the truck, oftentimes they cannot see you either. Then be extra cautious. Pay attention to signals, brake lights of other vehicles, especially trucks. Sometimes they don't even have lights, and so you obviously can't even see them. If you are cycling, then remember that there is strength in numbers. So please try not to go on the road alone. Find other partners to go with you. And if you're in a big group, try and keep a single line. Inform friends and family when you will be cycling. Carry a fully charged cell phone with you so that you can request assistance. And please remember, the law requires that you cycle in single file and with a safety helmet. So please don't hog the road. Don't take it over, because this will lead to serious incidents. Then driving in challenging conditions. We are getting to the end of this Toolbox Talk, so I'm going to rush through this a little bit. Always adjust your driving to the driving conditions and the environment. So if it's raining, turn on your headlights, make sure your windscreen wipers are on, make sure they're in good condition. Reduce your speed if possible. Yes, you're legally allowed to drive 120 on the road, but if it's raining, this becomes dangerous. So perhaps limit your speed during these dangerous situations. If there's oil or petrol on the road, this could cause you to skid out of control, especially when it's raining. So please be careful. If there is fog, reduce your speed, turn your headlights on low, use a fog lamp if you have one. Keep in mind, if you cannot see or operate the vehicle safely, you should not be driving. Traveling with small children can be a challenge. Obviously, they get super distracted as well, and sometimes could distract you. So maybe help them to have their favorite snacks or toys or portable DVD players, coloring in books, crayons, whatever will be keeping them distracted in their own way without distracting you as the driver. If they suffer from motion sickness or complaints of dizziness or nausea, this can help for you to pull off into a nice safe area, get them out of the vehicle, get them walking around, and help them out to just remain safe all the time. Now, if there are emergency stops or accidents, try to avoid stopping on the highway. Rather, take the next off-ramp if you can, especially into a more public area, and then take breaks from driving. Keep essential roadside equipment with you, as many breakdowns are caused by relatively minor problems. In the event of an accident, determine the extent of the damage or injury and assess whether it is non-medical attention or if you need to call an ambulance. And then lastly, take a picture with a camera or mobile phone and file an accident report with the police if you are the one involved in this accident. And obviously, they will give you that police case. So sorry, we were running a little bit out of time there. We could have given you a lot more information, but if you do want more, please reach out to us, info@ohss.co.za. So just a very big thank you to everyone, and we hope you drive safe.